What's up, everybody? This is your girl Midnight. I've been wanting to come over here with this topic because I've talked about it over there on Facebook, and we're gonna talk about the topic, or I'm gonna speak on the topic at hand of what we all seen happen. Everybody's seen this happen with the video and that teacher, but it's just not that. We're gonna talk about the school setting in general. Like, what do people think needs to be changed in school settings in general to keep stuff like this from happening? But I'm definitely gonna put you on game to what I really feel. And a lot of people feel like that teacher was really in the right of what she did to that young girl. But I'm going to tell you right now, my opinion, I don't feel like she was right. I don't feel like she was a professional. I don't feel like what she did was ethical. And I'm only saying this because after watching the video, she kind of was the first one to touch the girl with her body. No matter what the student was saying, teachers have to do this or think about this. Like, y'all can't take things personal because y'all been getting talked to reckless by them children. This is something that kids do all the time, okay? She was reaching for her phone. Sure enough, she probably shouldn't have been doing that, but you got to analyze the whole video. Like, looking at the whole video, we don't even know what happened that led up to that prior. They just showed the incident to the world, so we all just seen the fight. But do we know what led up to the fight? Do we know what if that teacher could have said something wrong to her? Because, see, a lot of people got it in their head that teachers don't trigger some of these children based off how they talk to them or based off how they treat them. We can't expect to think that everybody in a school setting is a professional individual, or you can't think that people that work in school settings, like teachers and any staff person that work in the school, like they can't mistreat your child to the point where it could be triggering to them. So in my opinion, I feel like the teacher seemed to be the aggressor, because if you was looking at the video before the actual assault, because that's what it was assault, before the actual assault took place, the teacher her body language said different. So she was shrugging the little girl. And what if the student felt like she was a threat to her? You know what I'm saying? To the reason why she swung off at the adult. But you are an adult, you're a teacher, you deal with these kind of things on a regular basis. So taking somebody's phone from them is one thing. How many phones a day teachers confiscate from children every day? Many of them. People say, oh, well, children shouldn't have phones at school. But in reality, a child need a phone at school, because look what happens in schools in today's world. You get people coming up there with firearms. They're shooting off in schools. So if a child feel like they're in danger or in harm's way at school, and they don't have a phone to call a parent or somebody to tell them or inform them of the situation that's going on at school, that will be horrible. So I feel like children do need a phone. And then not only that, after school, for the children who walk to school and walk home, they might encounter something that's harmful to them, or it could be of danger to them on the way back home or the way to school, where you might need to call your parents. This is why they need phones, kind of like us adults. When you are working and you are a person at work and you have smaller children at home, when some jobs tell you can't have your phone, adults do need their phone, because what if there was a case of an emergency at home? How's the parent going to know what's going on if they don't have a phone and they have small children? But see, what's lacking in schools today is, I feel like a lot of these teachers are really passive aggressive with the students. Now, there's different kind of students that comes to school, right? You got some that come there that's obedient, then you got some that really don't listen. You got some that's real ruly and reckless. But nevertheless, the reason why that teacher is wrong, in my opinion, is because as a professional, they are trained to learn to restrain. No, nevertheless, you are trained to learn to restrain. And she should have used techniques of restraint on the girl before she thought to assault her, because it was an assault. At the end of the day, that teacher assaulted the young girl. And a lot of parents saying, well, that teacher get a medal. The teacher did this, but place yourself in that situation. See, a lot of people are only saying that because the situation is not hitting close to home for you. But if this was your child who had been assaulted by a grown adult, you would feel different. And I know that for a fact. You wouldn't even care about what it is your child done. You will be thinking off principle as an adult. You will say, listen, my child couldn't have done something this bad for you to assault them the way that you did. And then also listen to her recording. When you listen to the teacher recording when she was live talking about the incident, she also referenced to the word again, where she said she don't want to be in a place where she has to lose her job again. Like, what do you mean again? Have you been in something similar to this before, to where you had to squat up with a kid? Like, what do you mean again? This is what I'm saying. She said again. Not to mention, like, her dress, her way of she was dressed, like, why you coming to school and you ain't got no drawers on? Your ass all up in the air on the recording. While you pinning this girl on the ground and you got her down and she's yelling and screaming and you still got her down. That was assault to me. I work in health and human services right now, but I worked in healthcare for over 20 years. And even a healthcare worker can't even, it's just like this. You got to have the same frame of thought like law enforcement and healthcare workers. Y'all train to use restraint on certain type of people in a healthcare setting. If you're working with different type of patients or residents that deal with different medical illnesses or mental illness, if they try to be aggressive with you or try to harm you, you can't harm them back. What they're going to expect of you is you're taught ways to restrain. So they're going to expect you to use your training that you were taught in the midst of a situation like that. Law enforcement. They may not follow the rules all the time, but still, even a law enforcement, like a police officer, is not supposed to just inflict bodily harm on somebody. Now, there are ways that you can restrain somebody. That should be what you are doing in the first place. Like, choosing to do otherwise is really going against the grain. That means that all of the training that you had has went out the door. Therefore, this is why charges and things like that are being brought upon a lot of officers when they are choosing to cause bodily harm on citizens instead of using restraint. Now, with the teacher and the little girl, they both were charged with disorderly conduct. And I can see how that could be possible, but still, the school setting has too many passive aggressive teachers. It's not enough teachers that have strong, firm backgrounds and structures. A lot of teachers are losing control of the classroom setting, which means that once you lose control of your classroom and your students see that, you're going to be one of those teachers to be walked over. See, it's a such thing as being firmness. Not saying that you mean, but a lot of kids may feel like a teacher may be mean if he or she is firm. But firm teachers give a damn about you. Like, firm teachers ain't gonna let you go by the wayside because they believe in you when you don't believe in your own self. So they're gonna stay on top of a student. They're gonna stay on top of a student that they feel like they see potential in he or her, even when he or her may not see them in themselves. You know what I'm saying? You may not have that potential in yourself or feel that in yourself, but your teacher know what you're capable of doing, so they're going to stay on you. This is what a lot of schools lack. Not only that, the staff is another thing. Like, schools are so short-staffed, and they have been for a long time, ever since the pandemic. It has not gotten no better. You damn near don't have staff in the school systems or school setting to educate these kids. So really, in my opinion, I feel like a lot of these kids are not even being educated right properly. They're not being properly educated. Bullying. Do you know how many teachers know of a situation where a child is being bullied and they can intervene and prevent that? But what are they doing? The suicide rate for bullying is ridiculous. So how can y'all sit back and think that just because these people are called teachers or professionals that they can't do no wrong when it comes to your children and they care? You also can't be small-minded when you think about those kind of people thinking that they don't trigger children. Just like us adults get triggered by other adults and what other adults do to you that you may feel is wrong, children go through those same issues, sometimes even in a school setting where they feel like they're being picked on or they feel like a teacher don't like them and a teacher is showing favoritism. Like, we have to think abstract. You can't be stuck to one way of thinking. You have to kind of think outside the box. You got to see a picture for what it is from all points of view. My thing is with that teacher and that student and with that incident, we don't know what led up to that incident. We don't know the words that were said from the student or the teacher. We don't know what led up to that. All we know that it led up to a physical altercation where both of them were assaulting each other. But as the adult, I feel like she should have contained herself better. You're a sub, so you've been in the school setting a few times. I used to be a player professional, so I know what it is to be in the school setting. And I dealt with a badass kid, a badass boy, where everybody was scared of him. Everybody in the school was scared of this boy. It seemed like I was the only one that was able to contain him and get him back online because I had this firmness to me where I had to be like that with him because otherwise he would have thought that he can walk over me because I'm somebody new. But I had to let him know, listen, I'm not your lead teacher, nor am I your mama. Now, you may be used to doing that with the adults here. You may be used to doing that with your mother. You're damn sure used to doing this with the children because they fear you. But you're not going to come in here and disrupt the class while other students want to learn. Every time he did something, the thing he hated the most was sitting with me. And I used to make him sit with me and miss recess all the time. I used to pass him up when it was time for me to bring a snack in and give it to the rest of the students. I didn't reward none of them kids for bad behavior. But at the end of the day, that boy learned to respect me. His behavior did a 360. So it really just depends on who's dealing with your child. What kind of teacher your child is really dealing with. If the teacher is putting boundaries on these children and putting boundaries in the classroom setting and standing on those boundaries, we will probably not worry about seeing so much of what students do to teachers. See, they too passive to me. That's just what it is, in my opinion. I feel like a lot of teachers are too passive, aggressive with the children. When you guys come across this video, I know it's late. Midnight's doing a late night live stream, but I wanted to bring it over here, the conversation, because I had that talk over there. We got to stop thinking that these people can't do no wrong when it comes to your child. And another thing, we got to stop blaming every time you hear something about a child doing something that he or she has nothing or he or she has no business doing. Stop blaming their parents like they come from this broken, structured home. That's not true in every case. Now, in some cases, yes, but every time a child chose to go out there and do wrong, that don't mean necessarily that he or she comes from a damaged family or a home where there's no morals and values. That's not true. I can tell you that's not true being a case manager. That's what I do for a living. One thing we cannot control, and this includes our own families, is we cannot control the behaviors of other human beings. We just can't. And our children, our husbands, our siblings, our mothers and fathers, our families are included in that rule of thumb. You cannot control the behaviors of other human beings. Children know what they choose to do. They know when they decide to do a wrong choice and make a wrong choice. They should know the consequences behind that. But I don't believe that somebody's parents should be blamed because that child decided to be vicarious and do things he or she wanted to do because they are peer pressured by their age group and people of their peers, or their peer pressure by their environment, because we can become a product of our own environment at times. Or they may be peer pressured by people who they see in their family doing these things. But listen, that doesn't mean that the parents are horrible parents. Just like adults. Okay, so can you blame an adult for going out there to break a law and doing a crime? Is their parents responsible for that? No, it's not. That's not right to even pin that on them. That's a choice that adult went out there and made. So now that adult has to deal with consequences behind your poor choice. That's what that means. We got to stop thinking that every parent is a bad parent because their child has chose to do something he or she had no business doing. It's not true, y'all. When you come across this, leave your thoughts in the comment on this live stream, because I really like for y'all to listen to this, and I would really like to get other people's thoughts on the school setting period in general, and give me your thoughts on what you feel about that taping with that teacher and that young girl. What you feel could have been done different. What you feel the schools need to do different in today's world to make schools a more safer place for our children. What do they need to be doing different? This is your girl Midnight. Make sure that y'all like, leave a comment, and on your way out, press that subscribe button, okay? Leave your thoughts on this one. This is very important. I like to see where other people think, what other people's thoughts are, in regards to just the incident with the teacher and the young girl, and just period on school settings. What you think that schools need to do to make schools safer? What do you think that teachers need to do to make sure that they're safe while they're at work? Because teachers shouldn't feel unsafe doing their job. No, they shouldn't. But what do you think that the schools can do to make teachers feel safe? Leave your comments down below. Peace out. It is your girl Midnight. All right, y'all.